It goes right past your head.
Where did
Yeah.
Do smile.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it is?
Wait, you didn't read 3 words or?
No. He's a mile and a quarter. No, you turn instead of going north. No, and it's the first place. Right on.
It is 7 o'clock. We'll go ahead and get started. Welcome everybody to the May Arlington Board of Education regular meeting. Tonight's meeting is being held in compliance with Nebraska Open Meetings Act. Copy is posted right there. We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order at 7 p.m. and take roll, please.
Jason North.
Here.
Chase Credible.
Here.
Matt O'Daniel.
Here.
Bruce Shear.
Here.
Janet Warner.
Here.
Shannon Wilmot.
Excellent. We have a quorum. Let's say the pledge. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, the first item on the agenda this evening, as always, is item 1.4, approval of the regular meeting agenda. Do I have a motion to approve this evening's agenda?
I would make a motion to approve the regular meeting agenda as presented.
Thank you, Janet and Shannon. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any more discussion? Let's vote, please.
Chase Credible.
Yes.
Matt O'Daniel.
Yes.
Bruce Shear.
Yes.
Janet Warner.
Yes.
Shannon Wilmot. Yes. Jason North.
Yes. All right, very good. Motion carries. Moving in to our guest and public forum. We have somebody that's actually on the agenda this evening. Before that, is there anybody else? I think there probably is that would like to speak.
Is that when you want us to talk?
Yeah, because I didn't know you were coming.
Oh, we did.
Oh, I did not get an email. I'm sorry.
That's been 3 weeks ago, probably.
Yeah, you, did I even reply and say, I like it?
Well, let's hear it.
There we go.
Yeah,
If they can talk
Anyway.
now, that would be great.
that's awesome. Yeah.
Okay,
A few things.
so they are going to present to you their partnership with business report, which placed first at state FBLA and is going to nationals. And it ties into all of our curriculum with business because it's our K-12 financial literacy plan is basically what it is. And so what they had to do is they had to write a 15-page report, and then that was judged, and they made finals, and then they had to give a 7-minute presentation to a panel of judges, which had spectators watching. At SLC, they did not have note cards, and they will not for nationals either, but we're in tight quarters, and we've only practiced a couple of times since then, so they're going to use their note cards today. But what they would like to do is make it more like our presentation that day and stand up there. So if you guys could be okay if you slid to the side and we.
And this is all ringing a bell now too.
It is. It's okay. It's been a long month.
It's,
I'm going to slide around you, Bruce.
Do you want that?
That would probably be better, actually.
How we place
Okay.
everything, just so that you could get a
Thank you.
broad overview of how we did in your chapter.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
And they were actually one of 7 teams that placed first, which is an Arlington record.
Been designated as the guy to hook this up.
Yeah, he's been our computer hookup guy. They had a lot of complications with their project though, because the girls had job interview right before they were to present, and as soon as Trent was done presenting, he had 5 minutes to get to his next event, which was also a presentation thing. It worked.
how much distance do they have to cover?
It was just down the hall, so it wasn't terrible, but a little nerve-wracking when they were thinking about it in the beginning.
And then job interview went like.
And yeah.
10 minutes.
Yeah, who's the person?
The clicker working. Oh, she's right. See, we talked about that. I had students one year that gave a whole presentation without their clicker plugged in. And afterwards, feel free to ask them questions, because in the, move that way, Trent, we're blocking the, because in the competition, they actually have to answer questions that are thrown at them at the end. Yeah, there you go.
Good afternoon. My name is Trent Koger, and these are my partners, Gabby Anselm and Mackenzie O'Flaherty. Arlington FBOA's partnership with local business to Rivers Bank educates students of all ages about making a financial services career through exploring a future in finance.
Students have the opportunity to learn about banking through a weekly banking program, classroom instruction, and a financial literacy rock concert.
Arlington FBLA and True Rivers Bank had many goals set for this project, with many revolving around high levels of participation with the bank in school, classroom instruction, and a financial literacy concert. FBLA members and True Rivers Bank Liaison Jen Barrow had vital roles in this project.
The responsibilities of the FBLA chapter's partnership with business chairpersons included planning preliminary meetings to implement the project, communicating with stakeholders from both concert and weekly bank, and coordinating job assignments to other FBLA members.
The responsibilities of the bank included providing bank prizes, donating curriculum supplies, interviewing and hiring tellers, and providing teller training.
During the planning phase of this project, members formed various committees to connect with Two Rivers Bank representatives, brainstorm educational opportunities for students, and plan a financial literacy concert for students grades 7 through 12, all while teaching students about the finance industry.
Arlington FBLA and Two Rivers Bank aim to improve the knowledge of high school and middle school students about banking operations, careers in finance, and personal finance education.
Members began promotion and recruitment through various activities, including extensive marketing of the project.
Implementation of the project occurred from preschool through 12th grade.
Members read preschool students the story 1 cent, 2 cent, old cent, new cent by Dr. Seuss and provided them with piggy banks to start saving.
FBLA members sent home informational letters and engaged in social media to connect with parents to provide information about the Bank in School program.
The bank in school operated under recent pandemic guidelines, with students filling out deposit slips in their classrooms and sending them in a class folder to the tellers in the high school each week. In March, we transitioned to an in-person bank.
Arlington FBLA and Two Rivers Bank partner to provide incentives to the kids, where students receive a Two Rivers Bank sponsored prize for each milestone deposit.
For example, when a student's deposit balance reaches $150, they receive a Bank in School t-shirt, providing additional advertising for our program. Classroom instruction that included financial services careers occurred weekly, rotating through each grade.
Middle school students serve as bank volunteers to prepare them to be high school tellers. All 8th grade students also take an Exploring Business course that teaches them important financial skills.
Students complete checking account packets that are donated to the school by Two Rivers Bank, with high school FBLA members assisting them in learning how to reconcile their accounts.
High school FBLA members apply and interview for teller positions in the Bank in School. This provides students with valuable practice and job seeking.
16 tellers participated in training with Two Rivers Bank employees. They learned how to handle various workplace situations and the guidelines of working in a bank. They learned about effective communication, time management, and professional workplace behavior. Two Rivers Bank also provides a $500 scholarship for the Teller of the Year.
Besides being tellers, FBLA members were also tasked with creating presentations for the kids. These interactive lessons focus on banking, school, and careers in the financial services sector.
All middle and high school students attended a financial literacy concert given by Nashville recording artist Carter Holsey. Holsey works with a nonprofit Funding the Future to teach teenagers about financial literacy.
FBLA members were responsible for setting up the logistics for the concert, introducing Holsey and the band, and cleaning up after the event. This unique event generated significant interest in personal finance among the attendees.
Many roles were defined in the developmental stage of the project, however there were still several steps required to successfully continue the implementation of the project.
Both chairpersons and the bank had significant roles in all three major facets of the project: Bank in School, classroom instruction, and financial literacy rock concert.
Arlington FBLA's involvement in exploring a future in finance received extensive publicity. Several articles have been published in the local newspaper, the Arlington Citizen. Chapter members also focused on using social media to promote activities, reaching over 5,000 people this year across Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.
Members learned a variety of skills throughout this project. Through the partnership with Two Rivers Bank, FBLA members learned organization, presentation, banking, and event planning skills.
FBLA members also gained insight of valuable business concepts throughout the project. They learned about networking, professionalism, and project development.
Arlington FBLA's partnership with Business Project made a school-wide impact. Students of every grade received education on financial literacy and careers in the financial services industry.
Arlington FBLA spent 760 hours on this project with 100% participation in grades preschool through 12. All 63 members of Arlington FBLA contributed to the success of this project, helping other students gain financial knowledge.
Arlington Public Schools and Two Rivers Bank had many interactions during this project, and each organization played a key role in the planning, development, and implementation of the program. Two Rivers Bank also supports FBLA by serving as a Nebraska FBLA competitive event sponsor.
Arlington FBLA succeeded in all goals set for this project. There was 72% elementary participation in the bank and school, 100% participation in financial literacy presentations, and 100% FBLA member participation. The bank and school had 196 participants, and currently, students in grades K through 6 have saved over $32,000.
Throughout this project, Two Rivers Bank was able to grow their reach in the community and teach people about their services. FBLA members also learned a variety of skills, gaining valuable skills in accountability, organization, and responsibility.
Arlington looks forward to continuing their partnership with Two Rivers Bank and preparing students for their financial futures. Thank you for your time, and we will now entertain any questions you may have.
Did you folks see any increases or differences in the number of deposits when you switched from COVID-19 to the more traditional part of the program, if you will?
When we went into our in-person, we actually had it at a big Dr. Goose breakfast. So that was a huge deposit day.
Okay.
But that day was definitely bigger. It wasn't too different after that, but definitely the day that we went back into the in-person, it was a huge number of deposits.
So when students deposit money, it's a traditional checking account. I guess two questions. Does it earn interest? And then can they draw against it, or can they only withdraw it as a sum, as a lump sum if they withdraw from the program? Can they write checks against it?
So you can start your deposit in kindergarten, and then at their 6th grade graduation is when you get the check for all of the money that you kind of deposited and earned interest over through the course.
So it does earn interest?
School. Yeah.
Okay.
But you can't take any of it.
No, you get prizes instead of interest.
Okay.
That's how it works. And then when you take it to the bank after you've earned all your money, you get your check at your graduation, you take it to the bank, then they'll give you an extra $10, which is probably just as much as you'd be getting from interest.
Right now. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
All right.
It's really enjoyed. And if they forget their name, you get very sad.
So we appreciate you guys listening to them.
course.
These kids will be going to Chicago at the end of June, and hopefully they'll come back with great news from this presentation and the several others that we have going on. So
Great job, guys. Good luck out there.
Thank you.
not too much.
You know what to I think around too much students, I know. Yeah.
Mrs. Cougar is
Oh,
transitioning
yeah,
to the bank,
I
making any
always thought
changes.
honestly you're older than I am, but yeah.
Only they will eventually have a new logo and want our prizes to change. They pay for the prizes, so not a big issue. All our prizes are now branded with Two Rivers Bank on them, so we might have some fun incentives to get rid of some prizes.
Good job, guys.
Yeah.
Oh, you're good.
Sure. I'm staying a little bit longer.
Before we jump ahead to Lisa Stork, who's on the agenda, is there anybody else that wishes to speak at tonight's meeting? No? Okay. Item 2.1, Lisa Stork had requested to be put on the agenda.
I don't have a presentation. Do you want me to
No
stand?
PowerPoint?
I don't, no. Do you want me to stand up front here?
No, you're fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
My name is Lisa Stork, and I am a fourth grade teacher here at Arlington. I'm here to talk about two different topics tonight. The first one is our sick leave bank. Now I know you guys do not come up as the board, you did not come up with the individual policies of our sick leave bank. The AEA does, and you guys negotiate, but I do know that it's been presented by the board to possibly eliminate the sick leave bank. And so I'm here tonight not only to say that we need it, but I would like to see improvements made to it. Right now at Arlington, it takes a teacher 3 years to accumulate enough days to cover something as basic as a maternity leave. So teachers earn 10 sick days each year and can roll over 5 personal days. So at the end of 3 years, that's 35 days, which being gone for 6 weeks, that's 30 days. And that's also taking into account that that's only 5 days for teachers to actually be sick during those 3 years. When I say that a maternity leave, those days are needed for maternity leave to be covered, I'm saying that is because if you don't have enough sick days and enough personal days to cover the days that you are going to be gone, you have a couple of different options. You can borrow from the bank. When you are borrowing from our sick leave bank, you're not always guaranteed the number of days that you are actually going to be gone on a maternity leave. And when you ask to borrow from the bank, you can only ask twice a year. And sometimes your leave can be over before you request the days. And then you're not guaranteed any amount of days when you do request them. So for a new mom who's at home with a young child, they are having to guess on how many days they are going to get, how many days, and how many days are going to be docked from their paycheck. The way that it's worded and the way that it is set up is very tricky. It's very confusing. And colleagues of mine and myself have been doing research to help come up with different policies to put in place for the sick leave bank so that there isn't this sort of confusion and frustration. When you borrow days from the bank, if you don't have enough sick leave days, you don't have enough personal days, and you don't have enough bank days to cover the leave that you are taking, your paycheck is garnished. And it doesn't take very long for that to add up to thousands of dollars. So not only do you have a new mom who is stressed from being gone from school, from getting ready for their long-term sub, but you have the financial stress. And like I said, I would like to help find a way for our sick leave bank to be changed and improved in order to relieve the stress and take care of our teachers. On top of all this, when teachers are gone for a significant amount of time, especially if they know they're going to be gone, there are so many hours that are put into their workday before they're gone to prepare for a long-term sub. So teachers are doing extra work before they leave, just like we know when any teacher's gone. I'm sure you've heard them say that it's easier to be there at school than to write lesson plans and be gone. So they're preparing for 6 weeks or more before they even move. So I'm working to come up with better policies that other districts use so that teachers don't feel as in debt when they are gone. Last year when I was gone with Mason, it was tricky to understand all the different ins and outs, how many days I was going to get, how many days were going to be taken from my paycheck, and I ended up losing over $3,000 just for taking, I ended up taking 8 weeks because he was in the NICU for 2. And that was on top of when I started this school year because I was paying days back to the bank. I only started the school year with 3 sick days. So 3 sick days for myself and for my 1-year-old son. This year, when I was gone on maternity leave with my new son, Beckett, who was born this March, I was actually granted all the days that I asked, which is phenomenal. I was very excited. I did not know that I was going to be requested all the days that I ended up taking after using all of my sick days, all of my personal days. I didn't know I was going to get all the days that I requested from the bank, but I did. I'll be paying them back for several years. But I also came back to school a week early. I took 5 weeks instead of 6 because I did not know that I was going to get all the days that I requested, and it wasn't said for, or wasn't done, and said that I was going to get those days until I was back. So I could have potentially had another week with my son, but I did not know. So I would like to clear up some of that stress as well. The other thing that I wanted to talk about is our short-term disability policy. Here at Arlington, full-time certified staff have to be gone for 60 consecutive days. 60 consecutive calendar days in order to receive any compensation for short-term disability. And I find it hard to think of anything that would help a teacher. I find it hard to think of things that teacher would use that for being gone for 60 days. Majority of businesses only require 7 or 10 days for that elimination period, and ours is 60 days. So between our sick leave bank causing stress, that is also a big financial stress for teachers if they have to be gone for something that is planned or something that is completely unplanned as well. I also just wanted to say, so I have been told that it's best if teachers get pregnant in September because that's just, you're gone less from school, but that's not always the way that it works. And I love teaching in this district. I love this building. My husband Jeremy graduated from Arlington. We've lived here for 8 years together. I feel that I am a great member of this community. And when I walk in these halls, I always feel supported by teachers. I've had several conversations with teachers who have either been in my shoes themselves or have so many sick days that they wish that they could help other teachers, not just myself, but other teachers who are in debt to the sick leave bank. And so I'm just asking you guys to have open ears when we go back to negotiations and to take a look at the short-term disability. I'm not 100% sure who makes those decisions as far as what kind of policy we have for short-term disability. But I really think that this is a great community. This is a great district. There are many teachers who are willing to help and support one another. And I really think that we should be taking care of those teachers.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I would just add that obviously these things are in the master agreement, and as you're coming up with ideas, direct them towards the negotiating team for the AEA. And we'll go from there. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah, and also when we went through negotiation, we had some questions about the sick leave thing that unfortunately could not be answered by those that were there. It wasn't until later on we received additional information that we had a much better understanding, and that helped guide the process down the road. So our feedback definitely is we had a lot of questions that they could not answer. So that was a little frustrating too, because we couldn't until later, like I said, we received the additional information. So making sure everybody's on the same page would be awesome for us, just because we weren't familiar with some things too.
And I emailed our negotiations team to let them know that I'm coming.
Okay.
I want to work with them next year. I want to be a part of the solution to this. I don't want to just present a problem. I want to be a part of that solution. I want to educate myself more and help in that process. I know in other districts, they delegate and teachers can help with the sick leave bank if there's other ways to make it easier for teachers. They take on responsibilities and help with that, and I'm more than willing to be that person.
Okay, thank you. We will move forward in the agenda. Item 3.1, the consent agenda, 3.1, 3.2, and 3.3. Last month's minutes of financial reports and the personnel resignations and hires. Dr. Lewis, do you have anything you want to add here?
First, I'll just mention the slight change to the hires, reassignments, and resignations. So after not attaching a couple of letters last month, I talked to Marcia Herring and said, what is procedurally, does the board have to accept all of those letters? It's practice, you should accept the resignations, but quit attaching letters, quit attaching resumes. If they want to, board members want to see those, they can come to your office and they can read those. So that was her suggestion. So you will see that going forward, just kind of a standing piece of the consent agenda. We'll just say the hires, the resignations, and the reassignments, and we'll see that in here this evening.
What rationale does she have for that? Is it for personal private information or?
It's that is part of it. Personal private information is some of it, and they're not here But in other districts, some people have used their resignation letters as an opportunity to air some dirty laundry, and then they put things in their letters that would be best saved and suited for an executive session. Right.
Okay.
So sometimes those things happen. So that hasn't happened here, but that was just her suggestion. She's making that recommendation to all of her schools now. So.
Okay.
Okay, in our financial reports, we've talked a couple of months about in the future, probably in June, you will see the financial information change just a little bit. Jennifer and Tam Clausen have been working through reconciling within the system and within the spreadsheet that we've been doing outside the system, and realizing that the two weren't quite consistent with one another. So what we have been seeing has been more of a basic what the bank statements said rather than true reconciling the numbers. So we'll go over those probably in a brief finance committee before the June meeting, and then we'll kind of explain what the financials are going to look like when we get there in June.
Okay.
There is an adjustment to that you will see as well. It is not on the activities fund sheet that you're seeing with you right now, but in going through the audit actually, and Mrs. Keeler has been good at noticing some things because on our audit you will see that there is not an activities interest balance at the end of the year. There is not a reimbursement balance at the end of the year. Those were to be journal entries upon receipt of the audit to have been made to offset some of the deficit that was in the athletics account. So that is noted in the audit, but is not on the activities sheet that you're seeing here. So we will get that updated going forward. But your athletics balance is not, did not start as 30,000 in the hole. It should have been that activities interest of 11,585, and then the $6,000 in the reimbursement fund that you see there. And there was one additional one. It was also, yep, it was just those two. Anyway, so the actual starting balance of your athletic fund should have been $7,944 in the hole, not $30,000 in the hole. So we'll get that adjusted so we can see a better balance there. This does not change the big picture of the money that we have in the athletic or the activities account. It's just placing it where the auditors indicated it should be placed through the audit. It just didn't get adjusted in e-finance, and therefore was not getting the reports accurately. So we will get that corrected as well. I also did want to draw some attention because after the discussion we had last month, our concessions, if you take a look at that real quick, we are getting less in the hole, which is really good news on that. So I think last month it was, I don't remember exactly what it was last month, but making some definite gains there this year. And Mr. Shada is not here to talk about that. We'll get that coaching commitment tonight. But so we're getting to be in a better position as far as concessions go. And we definitely do acknowledge that we want to work these accounts towards a better, more positive position. Oh, the other was a transfer from the general fund that we made the $10,000 at the end of the last fiscal year. So that's where that $30,000 comes down to, more that $7,000 deficit in that. That was the other movement there. $11,000 of interest, $10,000 from the general fund, and then $6,000 from the reimbursement. So that will be reflected on that, on this sheet next month. One other, the synergy bill. I was going to synergy. That's not the right word, is it? And jump synergy.
It's listed as synergy on the bills there.
So we have not symmetry. I'm sorry, symmetry. We have not received that bill for several months, but last week one popped in and they said, "We're sorry, we switched something," and they just sent one bill that showed like $16,000 worth of billings. I'm like, where is this coming from? So I asked first, and Jennifer asked as well in a different email where this is not consistent with what the billing has looked like in the past. So we did not get an answer on that yet. So we did not include it with the bills until we get some answers because we're not quite sure what is going on there. And Jeff is using a different provider than they had in the past. And something happened with the transition to billing there. They're not sending paper bills at all anymore. So I don't know if part of that was in the business manager transition as well. but they hadn't, I think probably other schools are receiving that too, that they hadn't gotten the billing out. And now, we just need clarification on why that amount is significantly different than it was when we were receiving those regularly in the fall.
What was their typical billing process? What was it?
We received a paper billing,
Monthly?
No,
No?
like
Quarterly?
every other month, quarterly.
Yeah.
When it was hit and miss.
And remind me, synergy is this symmetry. Yeah, now I'm doing it. Is the service that, like the consortium for our natural gas bill, right? Okay.
Be like that, the alley capital natural gas, such as every other school.
Interesting.
so we actually get a Black Hills group of invoices that we don't pay off of because they somehow tie into this symmetry bill. I don't know how it works, but
And it isn't an
It's-
ASB, it is a school board association.
all of a sudden it was a huge increase. And then nothing matches up to what we've paid or what we've billed or they show we've paid. So I don't know how they
Yeah.
figure that out.
Well, yeah, I think that's best practice is wait for an explanation before we pay.
On the Visa card, do you get points, Visa points when you, I mean, like, what's usually done with those?
We've purchased a couple of computers for teachers and for office staff to use, like our MacBooks. This one that you're looking at right here, the staff use. I think the one that Jackie has was purchased with some of those points, things like that. Well, occasionally there have been like some
Keurig machine
office
for the
in the
staff
teachers'
lounge.
lounge. There's been some office equipment.
I just curious.
Yeah. Yep. In the summer, they build up rather quickly, and that's when, because we purchased like our Amazon things and things like that, and so that coffee machine and that stuff. And I think when the coffee machine came, it came with some K-cups too that the staff used.
Okay. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second.
Thank you, Bruce, or Jason, Bruce. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any more discussion? Let's vote, please.
Shannon Moore.
Yes.
Jason Art.
Yes.
Chase Craddock.
Yes.
Matt O'Daniel.
Yes.
Bruce Shear.
Yes.
Janet Warner.
Yes.
All right, very good. Motion carries. This takes us into our curriculum reports. We got the guys here tonight. Physical fitness. Thanks for being here, gentlemen.
I can start with the high school and middle school. Mr. Hazing isn't able to be here tonight. Start with the middle school. I'm not as familiar with the fitness testing that they use now. I know they've changed over. You'll hear about it with the elementary. We use the same fitness testing reporting system that they use in the elementary. So what we're doing throughout the year, kids come to the weight room twice a year, or twice a week, sorry. Then there with Mr. Hazing twice a week, and then we stay together 1 day a week. What we're doing is all building towards the fitness goals that they test out. I'm not even sure what they all are. At the high school side, since we've presented last time, I know it's been a while since we had the COVID year. We used to use the rack performance. I think is what we presented when I looked at our last report. We no longer use that. We've switched over to Explosive Edge. It's a program out of Elkhorn. Gibby Duvall is the guy who runs it. His brother is Zach Duvall, who's the strength coach for the Nebraska football team. Big difference there. The rack performance was, in the weight room I'm talking, is more let's bulk up, let's move weight, let's push a bunch of weight around, see how much our maxes are. Explosive Edge came 2 years ago now, about this time, 2 years ago, and presented another workout for us, another program. And I'll be real honest with you, when they came, I thought you guys are crazy. They told us maxing out in the weight room, seeing how much you can lift with 1 rep max. It's kind of a thing of the past. Their emphasis was more on explosion, speed, agility. I think all of us coaches were kind of taken back by that and saying you don't need to be maxing out anymore. But we've all bought in, we've done a ton of research, and it really is. You read professional athletes, Olympic athletes, Division I, high school, they're maxing out really is a thing of the past. It's more of a let's use the racks, the weights that we do to become faster and more explosive. So that's where our shift has come on the high school weight side. I can tell you, I went to Mr. Shada this morning and said, hey, who do I go through to get the new plates for the records? We're in the process of doing our end of the year testing right now. We broke 3 records today. 2 vertical records and a broad jump record. We have not done our speed stuff yet. I foresee quite a few the way that the first testing's gone. I foresee a lot more records being broke up there. So that's really exciting to see. Kids have bought into it. At first, they were not so sure about it, especially our boys. Our boys always want to go, see how much we can put on the bench. Got to bench 200 pounds. Got to do that sort of thing. But they've really bought into it, especially now that they're starting to see gains. I mean, from the basketball side of things, from a basketball coach, I know we got guys going out and dunking the basketball all the time. Like it's working. So Luke teaches a lifetime sports class. I know in that class, I'm never in there, but I know they're doing a ton of different activities, from frisbee golf outside, cornhole, then your traditional volleyball, flag football, ping pong. He's done a really good job of creating more opportunities in that class. And thanks to people who have donated, and you guys have bought us more equipment to use for that class. Questions with the high school, middle school side of things?
Heather, have you seen any changes in injuries since switching programs?
We really have. We haven't. We thought the year, so we got it. We got 19? The explosive edge. Yep. And then the next summer was COVID. Mm-hmm. And we didn't think we'd be able to hit it as hard as we did. We made it work. We've gone through, we haven't seen many bad injuries, really. I mean, it was Austin, fortunately got torn ACL, but other than that, that's really the only big injury we've seen in the last 2-3 years. Their big thing, the thing that's amazed me was they said, you do this, hamstrings, you will not have pulled hamstrings. And as a coach of 3 sports, I felt like I dealt with hamstring injuries all the time. And I can say in the last 2 years, maybe 2 or 3 minor nagging hamstring injuries, nothing that caused the kid to miss significant time.
Does this program evolve and change from?
That is where we're in there's 3 phases in it. And we actually just had, Coach Matz and I just had a conversation about this. 3 phases: a base phase, a developmental phase, and a peak phase. Each phase is supposed to be 4 weeks. So it's a 12-week program. In the summer, we'll do it 3, with our summer's 9 weeks. So we'll go 3 weeks in each phase. And we just talked about that. We have kind of been monotonous, starting to get monotonous a little bit, where we need to change some things up. But each phase is different. More than lifts, it's more the reps and the sets that we do that kind of changes with them.
Okay.
Does the program change from of what you do or how you live from sport to sport? For instance, we've seen it with some of our kids. When you go to football game or wrestling, the opposing schools, they're just so much bigger. I mean, compared to our kids, and the weight that they were in, we were just out, I wouldn't say out muscled, but out. They were manhandled because they were just so much stronger and bigger.
Yep, I agree. It does not change sport to sport. We don't specialize sport to sport. It's really, that's tough, when you got, we're pushing for 3-sport athletes and football coaches saying you gotta do these lifts, these lifts, these lifts, and wrestling coach wants you to do these, but the baseball coach wants you to do these. So we treat this all as one big program for everybody. The in season, kids who are in season, we taper back a little bit. Ideally, what supposed to I've said, if you're going season to season, you only lift 2 days a week in season. That is one piece I would say that we have not gone all in with them. Just because I know when we started this, like a Josh Miller, there's no way I was going to be able to tell Josh Miller you can only lift 2 days a week. And I think a lot of our boys are in our school, especially, and our girls are getting there as well, that I want to do this more in 2 days. So a 3-sport athlete, if you do 2 days a week during the end season, you're only getting about 3 weeks of 4 days a week. So.
More questions? Okay. On the elementary side, we switched over to a new fitness program from the 1990s, presidential fitness one that Johnson had, the CD, and I don't know, might have been a green screen computer I had to look at, but that actually went out several years before he retired. When looking back, they actually switched away from that and just kept doing, which is fine. It is a little bit different shift on thought on testing a little bit. It's more designed to show kids that how to be active, and hopefully if they can be even moderately active, they should be in what they call them healthy fitness zones is where they're at for this program. To hopefully transition that as they get older to keep being healthy and active and not sitting around. So they do some similar lifts and exercises they had. Like we don't actually do traditional pull-ups anymore. We do a modified, like you're laying underneath the bar pulling. It does help kids be more successful too, so you don't get the kid that's just sitting there hanging and dreading trying to do because they can't ever do one pull-up. So now I've only had one or two kids in the last 2 years. I can't even just do at least one of those. We still do like a flex arm hang, still do like your mile run. They do like back flexibility now. So again, they're talking a lot about when you get older. If you're depends on your fitness level, you have back problem, that's a bigger issue when you get older. Still do flexibility in your hamstrings. So that was a nice shift made to have better, like even this results of sending home to parents and graphs and stuff. So I thought that was a lot easier data to look at too. So it's kind of a nice upgrade, I think, in the program when we took over. So that was good. We do have to pay for that every year, but I think it's well worth the money that we get the information to the kids for that. Otherwise, a lot of things the K2 kids, we base it on their skills, trying to, motor development. Yeah. So we really kind of same. Johnson gave me quite a few things, so I kind of never had to recreate the whole wheel, but we moved up to where he was at too and used a lot of things that he was doing that worked really well, different games and activities throughout the years. And we 3rd through 6th, we do more of the sports themes still as we go through. So kind of try to vary it as we go. About every 4 weeks or so, we hit a different sports theme. We try to do more skills check within the sports themes this year. Coach Hazing and I, when he helped last year, we got started on that, going, well, we get down to football, let's do a football skills check and how well we can throw and catch. And it's not like you're in a game assessing somebody, but something for parents to get some feedback also on that kid. So that was kind of, I think, a good assessment piece of not just fitness levels now as we go through the different units, what they can work on too. And then we also do the K2 kids every quarter also, their different skills. So parents are getting feedback as we go throughout the year with that.
With your weight room program, what items are you guys missing? I know when you start looking at some of the other schools around the country, you see a lot of treadmills and a lot of bikes, a lot of cardio type stuff. And you go into our weight room, there's nothing.
Yeah.
Is that something this program doesn't use or push? Or?
This program, they really didn't talk to us much about cardio equipment. We talked about some speed and agility drills to do down the road. The base phase, they tell us, so in June when we lift weights, we're not doing any running. There won't be any speed, there won't be any agility. That was another of those things we said, crazy. We did a lot of research, by a lot of coaches, and everything's saying that June, you gotta take it, you lift, and that's it. So we would benefit, in the weight room from some, cardio equipment to use for kids who are unable to to participate in PE or, but luckily, like I said, we haven't had a bunch of injuries here lately. But it is nice. I know like a bike is something very common for about any recovery, whether it's ankle, knees, arms, shoulders, a bike that you can use your arms, you can use your legs. I've seen the bikes where you put your feet up so you don't even use your feet, it's all arms. That is something that I would say it pops up to my mind more times than not, or more than the other things that we could benefit from. Cardio, a treadmill would be nice, a kid who's up there with a broken arm or whatever it may be, they can't do any lifting, but they could walk on a treadmill for 30 minutes during class. And I've had kids ask, hey, can I go out to the gym and walk? Sorry, you gotta sit here. You can't go, it's PE class, I know, but no, you can't go out in the gym and walk. One, there's not a gym available. Two, there's nobody down there to supervise. So, yes, we would definitely benefit from some sort of cardio equipment. But we would not use it within our program.
Jake, I'm scared to ask this because I don't want you to demonstrate. Trunk lift.
So you just lay on your stomach. You just put your hands underneath your legs, and then you just lift your chest with your neck. Everything in a straight alignment off the ground as high as you can. We just measure from your chin to the floor. So it's checking like back strength and flexibility on there. And each age group they don't go by grades, goes by age, has different zones, right? Where they're in the healthy fitness zone, or needs improvement, or at the at-risk zone. Those are all the reports we send home to the kids so they can look at and see, and talk about, and hopefully make goals. But yeah, it's just, like I said, simple. Lift your chest off the ground. Trying to get kids not to flip their head clear back and bend their necks. It's all supposed to be spine in alignment as you do this. It takes a little practice as we go. We're getting better at it over the last couple of years.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate you being here this evening. Welcome, stay. Oh yeah, hang out first. All right, so we'll move down into principals reports, and Mr. Faison, if you want to lead us off. It's the best time of the year, right?
Oh, it's busy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's fun, and it's fun. Last day for seniors is Wednesday. A lot of them have district track tomorrow, so Wednesday we have a half day. They do a modified or a graduation rehearsal. The gentlemen need to sign diplomas. You get a chance there, and I believe Matt and Jason are good with you on the stage. Yes.
Yeah, that's the plan.
Okay. So we'll be good. Other board members, we usually reserve seats over on the side, kind of on the east side of the gym, if I remember it. Or if you want to sit there with you and
It's a good view.
it's a good place to see them shake hands and then walk off the stage there. So after that, we leave that set up for Monday, the middle school honors day, and then the middle school will have a kind of a rewards day after that, or half a day. We are a Wise Blue Star school again. We're a top 100. We were not in the top 30. We must have been 31 for financial literacy. Kind of in line with what they were talking about with one of the tenants they were talking about when they did their presentation was the in-class financial literacy stuff, though that was not the purpose of their presentation. It included Conference Art Show Awards. We had an honorable mention, Best of Show person. When you come into board meetings and events and stuff like that, our art case, they try to cycle through stuff. You can see we've got talented kids across the board, whether it's academics or in arts or music, or it just across the board do a great job. So wanted to capture some of those. Omaha World Herald All Academic Team, Miss McKenzie was in here. Was our second team, all area Eastern Division, and then Gabby, who was in here as well, was an honorable mention along with Dylan, Julia, and Jamie. Posted the national Spanish exam results. One measure of what we do for Spanish and how those students participated and achieved. We had a couple of perfect scores. My understanding there's reading, listening, there's a grammar, language usage, and then maybe like a vocabulary. There's 4 parts. So here's the question that I asked. Well, we have a student here, perfect score blingo in reading, perfect score blingo in listening. So I said, well, how did he get a silver medal? Because he had perfect. Well, there's other elements that are as well as a part of the test. So a lot of good results there. And then if you were here for our honors night, or even if you weren't, just an FYI, we inducted 4 students for academic purposes for honors, Hall of Fame. I don't know if Mr. Shea included the Hall of Fame stuff on his, but for athletics, but we had Gabby, Julia, and Mackenzie, who were recognized as meeting the Regent Scholars requirements for UNL. And then Dylan Kim was a 5th place finish at state speech contest in extemporaneous speaking. I hope I see that. A lot of things going on. We'll just send up a prayers of Thanksgiving and of safe graduation season. We'll take as many of those we can. That's always what kids be making, as they cross over to the next things they have going on, that they do a great job and keep doing great things. Well, we got families here that have directly, so big day.
Yeah, it's exciting. Questions for Mr. Pinkston before we move on, anybody? No? Mrs. Morgan?
Well, we're not doing anything in the elementary either.
Field trips, lots of field trips.
It's really quiet, everybody's out of the building. No, Pender Honor Band, it's never quiet down there, just so you know. Pender Honor Band took place last week, I think, that was just last week. 27th, 5th, and 6th graders went to Pender, they practiced all day, and then they perform at night, so that was very fancy, good stuff there. We've got a whole host of field trips that we are finally venturing out back into the world post-COVID, and so it's like,
watch out for the ticks.
Watch out for the ticks. Yeah, 5th grade at the DeSoto National Wildlife Refuge brought a few friends back with them that were uninvited. And luckily the nurse was with them out on that trip for a student, and so she was texting me angry things about ticks.
Jeez.
The whole time.
That was me.
Yeah.
So I'll let you look through those. We've got a few field trips left to round out these last 9 days now, a couple going on there. Teacher Appreciation Week was last week. PTO spoils us rotten on the elementary, for which we are very thankful and always welcoming of treats. So thank you to everyone on the PTO for that. 5th and 6th grade had their band and choir concert. Lots of hard work went into that, and all 3 music ladies participate and put that 5th and 6th grade group together. So thank you to them. I did include some preliminary NSCIS data. I think everything's on there because Mrs. Wolf put together the comparative reports, and so you can kind of just scroll down and see the charts there. Compare. So spring of 21 was the NSCIS scores that we had at the end of last year. The lighter colored, lighter blue is the state, and then we're the darker blue on those. So you can kind of go through. I didn't include numbers, but I do have them. Interestingly, we're charting about 10 points higher in the elementary than we did last year compared to the state. So that's exciting. We're excited about it. The teachers are excited about it. The kids have no idea. They're just excited because it's done, I think. But we will be holding a little celebration with some bounce houses and Kona Ice on one of the last days to celebrate all of the kids' hard work. So
where do the developing on track and college and career ready, is that
Because you have the legend there, but I don't see where those
Yeah,
colors are.
so those numbers, I think Mrs. Wolf just included so that you could see, but then you can't see the numbers of the actual charts, so that you could see where we're averaging. So those don't correspond to anything on there. On those, just showing you the numbers of what developing is. So if you look at third grade math, for example, our kids' average was a 12.24, which is right on that cusp of on track in college and career ready. So as an average, we're on the high average side there. So you can't see the numbers. I have them written down over here. So if you're very interested and you want to see, or I can send those charts to you with the numbers on them. But we're on the high side of on track in all grades, and I think we're very close. Maybe we might have one grade in college and career ready in math. Our math scores are tracking higher than our reading, which has kind of been our trend, and has been the trend across the state. In conversations with other administrators on the elementary level, they're a little frustrated with where their scores are. I'm like, oh, that's too bad, because I think ours look pretty good. So, so I'm just gonna let them be sad. I'm happy. I feel like we're looking good. That 5th and 6th grade area that we've been concerned about for a while, we're tracking a little higher than we have in years past, so that's exciting. Real intentional work the teachers have done looking at curriculum and how it matches. I'm excited to see where the new curriculum takes us. They've been working hard to match standards already and kind of get going, and we've got a day planned this summer to really dig in. So good stuff happening. I'll stop talking. Or you don't have to, like tonight, whatever you need.
Can you send those scores?
Yeah, absolutely. I would be more than happy to.
Thanks, Jackie. Any other questions for Mrs. Morgan? New? Mr. Shady's got his activity report posted up here. There is a lot going on. Anybody that's a parent of a high schooler right now will tell you there is a lot going on. Did you want to run down through this, Mr. Finkston, or if anybody has questions on there, maybe we'll shout them out.
Yeah, he's got the Hall of Fame posted there with the 4x4 relay team, state medalist Kaylin Googles, and a variety of things in addition to the 4x4. Hopefully adding to that. And we have a few final events for the year. We've got track meets that we hosted this past week. May 5th, we hosted high school track. May 6th, we had junior high track. The way it played out in the weather and how close it was to districts, our high school track meet, we had a lot of varsity and sub-varsity athletes competing. Gave them a chance to participate, just with colder weather, kind of messy that day. Maybe not everybody sent their complete varsity teams. So that added opportunity for a variety of others to step up and compete well. So, and he just thanks quite a few people on there. Sure. We have, a couple things. Golf, it's finished 3rd in the conference meet. We had an individual 3rd place, I believe. Eddie Rosenthal, who shot 3 consecutive 78s now, if I remember right.
And I think Josh placed it last week.
Josh placed 8. He shot a 88 at Blair, so it was held at Blair. So Eddie shot a 78 at North Bend, at Fremont, and at Blair, consecutive events. Josh, I think, was at 88 and got 8th in the conference. If I remember right, they medal 10. Yep. They have something tonight, a quad night, and then invite at Topima on Thursday. And districts is
16th.
Next Thursday. Yep.
This is Monday. 16th is Monday. Is that right?
Baseball had a good run. We're leading Blair all the way through 5 innings. In the 6th inning, we just hit a wall. Yeah, and we didn't quite win that one. So that was the end of the season there for baseball.
On the positive note, though, next year C1
I think C
class
baseball
for baseball.
Yep. We'll have
So we're not competing against every high school out there, Class A degree.
Dang it. Yeah. District track.
Yep, is in Columbus tomorrow.
Mhm.
There you go, district golf 16th at Fremont. And that's all right. It's kind of the events that we have left.
It's a busy time.
Yeah.
All right, let's move into our superintendent's report. Dr. Lewis.
Yes. As far as construction updates for you, if you drove through and passed at any point in time today, you saw a crew out leveling. They're installing the last drain that needs to be installed there so they can go ahead and set sod. So sod should be installed before I was told before the 12th. So before graduation, and today is the 9th. So by Thursday, Mark had said we will have sod by. The lockers again are scheduled to start on June 1st, and they'll get all the locking mechanisms on the ones that are already installed and take out these old lockers and put the new ones in. Dan and I applied for E-rate funding for the wireless access points and the switches that go into the data closet out there. E-rate said, yep, go ahead, that's fine. But then they also said, but you can't get these until January. So we have regrouped, and Dan has been great about finding room on the switches that we currently have and getting some used refurbished access points that will be to us sooner. And we'll reserve those E-rate funds for the new ones, and so we can spend those in January.
Yeah.
That will be, spend them right now and not get anything until January, so that doesn't make an awful lot of sense. So the moral of the story is we couldn't install anything until after July 1st with E-rate funds anyway, so this actually sets us ahead of the game just a little bit on getting more access points and things out there because we're not using the vendor that can't get them for us until January. So we're in good shape there. Some equipment and books and things like that have been starting to get moved out there. Mr. Parsons has his recording studio kind of set up with his roadcaster with the 4 microphones that they do their podcasts with and their quizzes and things like that. So that's really fun to go out there and see. And then you shut that door in there and it's so much quieter. Stella was with me one day when we went out there and she said, I haven't even been in there. I haven't seen it yet. So we went through and she went in there and she shut the door and she said, oh, this is really nice. Like when we're trying to record podcasts now and things like that, if there's people in the room, you can hear those conversations. And so that was just from the student who will never get to use that room perspective, but he was happy for the future of the podcasting and things like that. So we're on track there. Your NASB monthly newsletter is attached there. I have not received NERCS's yet. Final legislative report, I did grab that. The things that, this just came from NASB last week. So we're going to talk about just a couple of things that passed. And there's a couple of things that didn't pass, and then there's some interim studies that they'll be looking at just to explore some different things. So what did pass is the Nebraska Farm to School Program Act to expand the Farm to School program to early childhood education programs. So some schools are able to utilize local resources with the right processing and things like that. They can purchase food from farmers and things like that right there in their community and serve it in their lunch programs. So they expanded that to early childhood because it did not apply to early childhood before. Requiring behavioral health points of contact for school districts. We've made a lot of progress on this in the past 18 months, but it's been a board priority since I've been here. So for at least 2 to 3 years, we've been working on mental health. So now there'll be a requirement that we have a behavioral health point of contact for each building. So we have a lot of resources, I believe, that will make that an easy transition for us. The Nebraska Career Scholarship Act, which places career scholarships to students who participate in internship or work programs for specific underserved workforce sectors. So that's not a very clear description of what that is, but it would be scholarships, probably more for the vocational type of things. I'll do 1165, change provisions of the Nebraska Budget Act, so it changes some timing things. And we know that some of this applies to some bond issuance and timing of things. And I think it says on here that Ralston and Fremont kind of ran into some situations this year. And I think the budgets were due, and then the bond election was like the next month, and their plan was to amend the budget, and the auditor didn't like how the budget process worked out, and they basically accused them of being dishonest, which they were following statute in their opinion. So anyway, that clarifies that. And then 1218, which we've been talking about, which is changing provisions related to certification and student loan forgiveness. So there's additional funding for student loan forgiveness and providing a different avenue to certification for some rather than only passing a praxis test. So those are the ones that passed. I'm going to skip the ones that didn't pass because I don't think we need to talk about them an awful lot. But, you know, continue to expect something in the form of LB 890, which was basically rewriting TIOSA and doing a better job of funding schools with state funds rather than local property taxes. And then interim studies that they're looking at. There's an interim study that they're taking a look at about attaching land to different school districts. I haven't heard an awful lot about these. Developing a statewide process for awarding college credit in specific programs of study for military education and training, examining the education process and procedures for serving students with special needs. So basically looking at the way there's funding special education and the way we're serving special education students, and then programming opportunities and interventions for students attending alternative schools, class or educational programs in Nebraska. And again, those are just interim studies, so it means they've got permission and they'll be taking a look at some of those. They may turn into bills next year, and I can't predict what those would look like. So,
yeah,
we talked a lot about it for a lot of months and not an awful lot came out of it. But student loan forgiveness for teachers, so that's a good thing. And perhaps a better, more streamlined and less narrow focused path to certification would be good. Sometimes that test is just like we talk about our kids. Passing that test is not definitely the determining factor of whether or not you're going to be a great teacher or not. Just like it's not always the best factor of whether you're a good student or not. Okay, and we already kind of talked about graduation procedures and participation by board members and Mr. Gibson's. Principals are good, so
12:30. What is we meet in here at 12:30?
I believe so. Ceremony is that, yeah, maybe a little earlier. This
You
room is
have-
typically set up with students things, right? So
With
the
that-
schedule is lined with
Yeah,
students.
we usually have the cards, different things that they pick up afterwards. They come in here afterwards, so you'll be able to sit and relax or go. A lot of times I think you go to superintendent's office. On the stage, you'll have a chair for one side will be you three, and then the other side will be James and myself. So.
Okay. It'll go off great. It always does.
Of course it will.
Yeah.
You've met our seniors.
What could possibly happen?
Hey, they're great. They're
Yeah.
great. Yep.
All right, we do have some committee reports tonight. First one is American Civics Committee.
The American Civics and Curriculum Committee actually met at 6:30. So I put these on in reverse order when we actually had them. So I don't know if the committee chair would prefer to talk about what we discussed.
It was a fascinating meeting.
We talked about the ELA workbook for grammar that the English teachers are advocating for. And we are in support of that decision. And then we went through and talked about some civics things. We talked about politics a little bit. We talked about saying the Pledge of Allegiance every morning as part of that. The naturalization test, what 11th graders take that? 12th graders take that?
There's 3 requirements that students have to do depending on by the end of their senior year or by their 8th grade year and then their senior year. So one of the things that we do is in that the American Civics portion of the naturalization test or equivalent. So we give that. And then the other one is, as we have, is Clark.
Last possibility.
participate in, that's right. Participate in a meeting of the general.
Public meeting, yeah.
There you go. And then there's one in there about, doing a report on historical figure, yada. I don't know if we necessarily, check the box for 62 graduates here, for that, but over the course of their high school career, they'll do that, so.
I think they have to meet one of those three, right? They don't have to.
It's just
meet
one
all
of the
three of
three.
those.
Really?
So we do, yeah. By this, we accomplish that.
Sure.
But there's a lot more to it, including making sure you're cognizant and aware and promoting national holidays and different things that way. We get things with Veterans Day, a variety of things that we do there. Yeah, I don't know if that's.
I don't know if that is an
might be
American
controversial.
holiday.
That's part of it.
What is in my world?
So, had a conversation about that and met our requirements for this school year, I believe. So, with our required number of meetings, I think it's 2.
3.
Is it 3?
Yeah, we had 3.
We had 3. There we go.
Check box. Thanks. Finance Committee met just prior to that meeting. I was a little bit late, so I'm gonna let Chase cover the meeting.
Yeah, I think it's on the agenda later for approval, just a general overview. First tier of it, we went over the instructional technology budget. As nobody's probably surprised, computer prices are going up, software prices are going up like everything else. So built that in there for if we need computer costs, that's gonna be kind of as is needed. Is that pretty much accurate?
As needed, yes. I mean, we have a lot that E-Rate and this response bought for us, but as needed. And there were also some new subscriptions, some cyber protection kind of things that increased that budget, some things that we've had to pay for out of the budget this year. In the grand picture, we're doing well, but there's a couple of parts of the technology budget that we did overspend because of the need to, maintain our LCAP insurance status and have certain cyber protections in place. So some of those things.
That's where you get
Caused a little bit of an increase there.
Okay.
And then the other side to it was the curriculum and assessment budget. Things were looking good there. We came in under as compared to the last school year. Nothing really crazy on there at all, actually. Just general supplies and training and continuing ed stuff. That was a little more rosy on that side of the aisle. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not a perfect balance, but it's kind of a balance.
Okay. And those are in the agenda item later
Yes.
on too.
Yeah.
Business, so. We've got St. Paul's Liaison on here as well.
And we did have our non-public consultation meeting, and the members of the St. Paul's Liaison Committee are Chase and Bruce. So they came in and we met with Mr. Dunclow and Zach, who was their board member that came with them. And we went through all of the allowable uses of title funds and things like that, which was a requirement for the meeting. And we talked about some funds that they had yet to expend from previous years and our transportation and our participation, and I'll let Bruce and Chase think about that a little bit too. Anything further that you would like to share?
Mainly, Pat, the principal there, had some requests for us to look into with the transportation. And then we don't have the information back yet for what we're going to charge and stuff, and we're going to get that information back to them once we get all the data.
Normally we figure out our cost per mile or something.
Yeah, we do that in June, once
And we know it's gonna
we're
be
done
higher
with all of
because
the routes and
Fuel.
So,
Yeah.
but there was just a few requests that Pat had, Mr. McLeod had for us that we just need to look into, and then also with the request to use the gymnasium next year for a tournament. So we have to get a share and see if the gym is available. Yeah. I don't know if Chase, you got anything else?
No, the other thing was they want their students to be involved as much as they can in our activities, whether that's FAA, I think there's a 8th grade possibility there, and then just other sports and any other education.
Yeah, and they do,
Music,
yeah.
yep,
They
yeah,
just
so-
pay for it, so. It's a good opportunity for us to continue building that relationship, especially with the new. I mean, it's certainly not new to the area, but new to the school. They're relatively new to Stratton with this first year. And so it was a good opportunity to just sit down and chat with them about ways that we're going to keep working together.
Anybody knows what the enrollment is out there now?
Oh, boy.
Announced when they-
I
was something I
think-
was gonna ask and I
I
totally
think,
forgot.
the last time I asked, the number I believe was roughly 7 new students in pre-K through 8. I think those numbers get lower in the junior high, like
Yeah.
7th and 8th graders,
Sure.
who don't have as many, but they have
Mhm.
on the younger classrooms. So. Now, not all
Okay.
of those are Arlington district students too. I know there's several out there that hope to become Arlington students someday, but
Yeah.
are currently coming in from other school districts.
Yeah, like Logan View and stuff.
Yeah, and Fairmont and so.
Okay.
What are the, St. Paul's, what are they using for our, textbooks?
They are using some of the Reading Street ones yet. We did purchase some of the new curriculum for 3rd and 4th grade for their students, with the textbook loan funds of the new curriculum. So the teacher who is teaching 3rd and 4th grade desired to use that, so we did that. I think they're in one of our old math series too as well, Mrs. Morgan. He did discuss science, so we might want to get with him about science. He's not crazy about what they're using. And he and I talked a little bit about the difference of it's challenging sometimes for the parochial schools to accept the science curriculum. That public schools have, and standards don't quite align, and there's a lot of reference to evolution and things like that. And a lot of times parochial schools just want to keep that out of their curriculum completely. So.
Okay. Thanks, guys. We have no unfinished business. We move on to new business. The first item, new business, is the reason why we are here, right? Discuss, consider, and take necessary action to approve the students presented from the class of 2022 to receive their diplomas. He is already checked. Good. In fact, if nobody objects, I'd like to make this motion and have Jason Arp second. Just to be sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I did look too, it's like,
Yep.
okay, everybody that I know, pretty much down there, we're good.
So I'll make a motion to approve the class of 2022 for graduation as presented.
Second.
Thanks, Jason. Been moved and seconded. Is there any more discussion? Please no. Let's vote, Jen.
Bruce Shear,
Yes.
Janet Warner,
Oh.
Shannon Wilmot,
Yeah.
Jason Arp,
Yes.
Chase Crabtree,
Yes.
Matt O'Daniel.
Yes. All right.
And you will see in the newspaper coming out, I don't know if it's this week or next week, but they are writing an article on how many of these students are related to people that work in the school or that are on the school board, and they came in. And it was a pretty large group that they took a picture of today.
Today,
So, yeah, they came in. Yeah, so.
What's
you
the
reply to them.
percentage, Aaron? 100%?
Graduation rate.
Graduation rate?
With this cohort, yes. We have a student that is still working on things that was with last year's cohort.
Okay. Item 9.2, discuss, consider, and take necessary action to approve the district level budgets for curriculum, instruction, assessment, and technology. This is coming out of the finance committee that Chase just discussed. You can take a look at these. Like he said, the IT stuff is up, and the assessment budget is down just a little bit. Any more questions for the finance committee? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve the district level budgets for curriculum, instruction, assessment, and technology for 22-23 as presented.
Second.
All right, Chase and Jason, thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any more discussion? Seeing none, let's vote, please.
Janet Warner,
Yes.
Shannon Wilmot,
Yes.
Jason Arp,
Yes.
Chase Crabtree,
Yes.
Matt O'Daniel.
Yes.
Bruce Shear.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. Item 9.3, discuss, consider, and take necessary action to approve grammar workbooks for ELA adoption for $30,350.98 as presented.
One thing we didn't talk about was when it breaks out, it's a 7-year cycle, and it breaks out to about like $4,000 per year.
It sounds a lot better.
So yeah, when you look at it as a lump sum, it looks kind of scary. And it takes the place of something that's already being paid for.
Sure.
For roughly the same amount each year, that's not getting well used, so.
What grade level does that cover?
Yeah.
Okay. Would somebody like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the purchase of grammar workbooks for ELA adoption as presented.
I second.
Thank you, Shannon and Janet. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any more discussion? Let's vote, please.
Bruce Shear,
Yes.
Matt O'Daniel,
Yes.
Chase Credible.
Yes.
Jason Art,
Yes.
Shannon Wilmot,
Yes.
Janet Warner.
Very good. Motion carries. Item 9.4, discuss and consider legislative policy updates on first reading.
So the first one, the memo that you have attached there is actually a brief description of each one of the legislative or the required policy updates. So these are the ones that we really don't have a choice to change the language. I went through all of them and made sure that they were updated with our school's information. The one that maybe took a little bit more updating was policy number 4133 on substitute teachers. Has to do with timing issues of approving local substitute teaching certificates. There was a language in the policy that Perry Law Firm, paragraph right in the second, that was a different process than what we use for our local teaching certificates. So I had to amend that one a little bit more. All the other ones just required changing the name of the school district and the contacts and things like that. So I'll go through those in a moment. The other ones on the end of that memo where it says other considerations, I expected that we would have something more on what policies for those things might look like. And by this point in time, that they have not sent those out yet. So they are non-required policy changes or policy updates that have to do with some other things. So possibly different ones and more to add at the June board meeting. But for now, we'll just cover the ones that are attached and required. So policy 1220 is the grievance policy. It needed clarifications and adjustments to comply with current Title IX requirements. Internal controls, this is for additional provisions for federal monitoring. What they're talking about there is for all of our federal funds, we have to keep time and effort logs and things like that for title and for IDEA. All of those teachers, they added additional ESSERS funds, and we have to, if we're paying staff with ESSERS funds, which we are one staff member, and we did a couple last year, we have to keep time and effort logs on them as well. And we just have to make sure that we're in compliance with those pieces.
What is the effort part of that definition?
You're trying your hardest.
The time and effort log.
No, time and effort log. They want to
Like
make
a
sure
job
that the
description?
time you're spending, yeah, it's basically a breakdown of your daily schedule. So, for example, the Title I might look like I'm meeting with 7 groups of, 7 students in the 3rd grade group, and we're using this and this and this as interventions. Which interventions are we using? How long are we seeing them?
Yeah.
So it's a breakdown. So for some of them, you give a weekly calendar. Some of them, it's a monthly calendar. If the days change a lot, you might do a little bit more frequency. They give us forms, and then we have to sign at the end of each semester and say that we assure that they're doing what their time and effort log says that they're doing, and therefore the funds will be reimbursed to the state. That was one thing that came out of our title review that we had earlier this morning that went really well too, but they asked us to make some small changes to our time and effort log. So it seems like it's something that's constantly evolving, and just when you think you've got the time and effort log just right, you're like, but we would really like you to add this to it now, and that was something new that. So anyway, this is to also include. We've been doing this for years, like I said, for title and for IDA, and now it's for people paid with ESSERS funds as well. Bidding construction projects.
Because everything costs more than it used to, they're changing the thresholds at which you would need, like we'd be statutorily required to have, to have tried to get 3 bids. Sometimes you can't get 3 bids these days, but that you have to go through the advertising and a waiting period
Yeah.
and things like that to try and get that. So that just raises that limit. Like I said, when I started this career, this part of my career, I remember when it was 40,000 and then it went up to 90,000 an hour. So those things change. 4009, drug and substance abuse, just policy changes at the federal level for substance abuse testing for employees. 4133, substitute teachers. I'm sorry, I talked about that one a little bit already, just the timing of approving of local substitutes. And the change that I had to make for that, it just came to me was how, because the paragraph that came from Perry Law Firm talked about what you pay a long-term sub once they have been there a specific period of time. Ours is dictated by a different board policy. So ours increases to $165 a day after they've been here for 9 consecutive days. On the 10th day, they start receiving that. They had something different in that, which is a suggested. It was not the reason it needed amending. So I just amended the middle of that to match what our current policy is as far as that goes. And then 6600, special education. There's always new things coming out with that. So the majority of the guidance, if you want to follow that link, you certainly can, but we've updated policy 6600 to match that. Policy 8343, agenda control and construction, requires persons wishing to address the Board of Education to state their name, address, and any organization that they may represent. My guess is that came out of what happened with the State Board of Education when they were going through the health standards last year.
Yeah.
And then policy 8343, agenda construction and control minutes. So now it will be, your digital minutes can be your official. We no longer will then, starting July 31st, have to keep. Well, we still have to publish our minutes, but we won't be required to keep paper copies of the minutes. Now our digital copies will be legal requirements.
So we still have to publish them in the paper?
Yeah, you still have to publish in the paper, and they still need to be on your website, but you don't have to keep a paper copy if you change, you probably changed different board policy on it. So the other ones have not come out yet, so we'll address those when we need to next month. And again, we'll see these all another month.
Fun.
They are fun.
Okay, the final item on the agenda is 9.5, discuss, consider, and approve contract with Learn to Move for SPED services for the 2022-2023 school year, billed hourly at the state approved rate.
This is the same person that we've been contracted with, Brooke Shalene, since I have been here for the past several years. The reason that they don't put a specific dollar amount in is that's one of those state rates like mileage and things like that. So the state rate for a lot of these direct services to students changes annually. They revisit it, and so a lot of times January 1st is when they change state rates. So that's why there is not a specific state rate named in there at this point in time. For us, this has been a small portion of our budget. I believe we spend less than $5,000 a year total on PET through this contract. We don't have an awful lot of special education students that have PT listed as goals in their IEP. So that's what this contract includes. She's always been very, very detailed in the billing. So.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the contract with Learn to Move for SPED PT services for 2022-2023, billed hourly at the state approved rate.
I will second that.
Thank you, Shannon and Janet. Is there any more discussion? Let's vote, please.
Chase Craddock.
Yes.
Jason Dark.
Yes.
Matt O'Daniel.
Yes.
Shannon Wilma.
Yes.
Janet Warner.
Yes.
Bruce Shear.
Yes.
All right, very good. That motion carries, and we can adjourn at 8:28. Thank you, everyone.